The sky above Quilara turned black with ships. Not their ships. Enemy ships. Ambassador Talana stood on the balcony of the council tower and watched her world die. The beautiful crystal cities that had stood for 40,000 years were burning. The gardens where her children played were now ash. The libraries that held the wisdom of ages crumbled under alien fire. The crash had come without warning. One day the sky was clear and blue. The next day it was full of monsters. Talana had lived for 300 years. She had studied the stars and written poetry. She had raised 4 children and taught them that the universe was full of wonder and peace. She had been wrong. The Kresh were like nothing the Quillari had ever seen. They were creatures of nightmare, all teeth and claws and hunger. They moved in swarms, thousands of them, millions of them. They ate everything. Trees, buildings, animals, people. They consumed and never stopped. The Quillari had no weapons. Why would they? There had been no war in their recorded history. Their ancestors had put down their weapons millennia ago when they learned that words were stronger than swords. They had built a civilization on art and science and philosophy. They had reached for the stars with open hands. Now, those open hands had nothing to defend with. How many are left? Talana asked her aide, a young male named Soren. 2 billion in the southern continent, Soren said quietly. His voice shook. 500 million in the eastern islands. The northern cities are gone. All of them. 3 days ago, they had 7 billion people. Now half were dead or worse. The crash took prisoners. Talana had seen what they did to prisoners. She closed her eyes and tried not to remember. Send the message again, she said. Ambassador, we have sent it 40 times. The council has received it. They are debating. Send it again. Talana's voice cracked. She never shouted. In 300 years of diplomatic service, she had never raised her voice. But her world was dying, and the Galactic Council was debating. Soren nodded and returned to the communication array. Talana watched him go, then turned back to the burning sky. The Galactic Council was a union of 47 species. They met on a neutral station and discussed trade agreements and cultural exchanges. They were civilized. They were peaceful. They were like the Quillari, species who had evolved beyond violence. But none of them had armies. None of them had weapons. They had police forces for small crimes and security teams for accidents. But war? War was something from ancient history. Something their primitive ancestors had done before Enlightenment. The Crush cared nothing for Enlightenment. Talana's communicator buzzed. She activated it with a gesture. The holographic face of Council Speaker Vornis appeared. He was a Scath, a reptilian species known for their careful thinking and slow decisions. Ambassador Talana, Vornis said. His voice was calm, measured. The council has reached a decision. Tell me you are sending help, Talana said. She heard the desperation in her voice and did not care. Tell me you are sending ships. We are sending observers to document the situation. We will also provide humanitarian aid once the immediate danger has passed. There will be nothing left. Talana shouted. Don't you understand? The crash will not stop. They will eat everything and everyone. By the time your observers arrive, there will be nothing to observe but bones. Vornis looked uncomfortable. Ambassador, please understand. We have no military forces. We have not fought a war in recorded history. What would you have us do? Something. Talana's hands clenched into fists. Anything. You have ships. You have technology. You have billions of citizens across 47 worlds. Are you telling me that all of you together cannot stop one enemy? We are sorry, Vornis said softly. We truly are. But we cannot help you fight. We can only help you rebuild after. There will be no after, Talana whispered. The connection ended. She stood alone on the balcony. Below her, she could hear screams. The crash had entered the lower city. They would reach the tower soon. She should evacuate. She should run to the underground bunkers where the last survivors were hiding. But what was the point? The crash would dig them out eventually. They always did. Soren ran back onto the balcony. Ambassador, we have a response. From the council? Tell them, no. Soren's eyes were wide. From someone else. A signal from an unknown sector. They heard our broadcast. Talana felt a spark of hope. Who? What species? I do not know. They are not in our database. The signal is primitive, old radio technology. But they are responding. Talana rushed to the communication console. The signal was weak, crackling with interference. But there was a voice. Rough, aggressive, speaking a language the translator struggled with. Receiving you. Situation understood. Hold position. This is Ambassador Talana of the Quillari people, she said quickly. We are under attack. We need immediate assistance. Can you help us? There was a long pause. Static filled the channel. Then the voice came back, clearer now. We heard you. Help is coming. Hold on. The words were simple. The voice was hard, military, nothing like the soft diplomatic tone she was used to. But it was the most beautiful thing Talana had ever heard. Who are you? She asked. What is your species called? Another pause. Then, we are humans. From a planet called Earth. We are not part of your council. But we are coming anyway. How long? Talana asked. How long until you arrive? 3 weeks at maximum speed. Can you last that long? 3 weeks. Talana looked at the burning sky, at the crash ships landing in waves, at her dying world. 3 weeks seemed like forever. We will try, she said. That is all we ask, the human voice said. Get your people underground. Hide them. Protect them. We are coming. The signal cut out. Talana stood in the silence, her hands shaking. Soren was staring at her with wide eyes. Did they say 3 weeks? He whispered double quotes, yes. We are maybe 5 days before the crash overrun everything? Then we make 5 days last 3 weeks, Talana said. She straightened her shoulders. Sound the evacuation. Get everyone to the deepest bunkers. Seal every entrance. We are going underground, and if these humans do not come? Talana looked at him. Then we die knowing someone cared enough to try. As the sun set on Quillara for what might be the last time, millions of people fled underground. The crash swarmed across the surface, consuming everything in their path. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, something was coming, something that had heard a cry for help, something that was traveling faster than should be possible, pushing engines beyond safe limits, racing against time. The monsters of Earth were coming, and the crash had no idea what was heading their way. 3 weeks and 2 days later, Talana was still alive. She did not know how. The bunker was deep, carved into solid rock beneath what used to be the capital city. 200,000 Quillari huddled in the darkness, the last survivors of a species that once numbered 7 billion. They had food for another week, maybe 2 if they rationed carefully. They had water. They had air, but they had no hope. The crash dug constantly. Talana could hear them through the thick walls, scratching and clawing. Every day they got closer. Every day, another tunnel collapsed. Another section had to be abandoned. The survivors were running out of places to hide. Ambassador? Soren said quietly. He looked thin, exhausted. They all did. The eastern section is compromised. The crash broke through. We lost 300 people before we could seal it. Talana closed her eyes. 300 more. Added to the billions already gone, what about the humans? She asked. It was the same question she asked every day. No signal, no contact. It has been 23 days. They were not coming. Talana knew that now. The humans had tried, but 3 weeks was not enough time. Or maybe they had never intended to come at all. Maybe it had been a cruel joke from a universe that did not care. Then the lights flickered. Everyone in the bunker looked up. The emergency power was stable. It should not flicker. Then it happened again. And again. A rhythmic pattern. What is that? Someone whispered. Soren checked his console. His hand shook as he pressed buttons. Energy readings. Massive energy readings. In orbit. Something just arrived. The crash? Talana asked, though she knew it was foolish. The crash were already here. No, Soren breathed. Ships, dozens of them. Broadcasting on all frequencies. He looked at Talana with wide eyes. They are human. Talana felt something she thought was dead inside her stir. Hope. Dangerous, painful hope. Open a channel, she said, that the bunker's communication system came alive. The voice that filled the room was the same rough, military voice from 3 weeks ago. This is the Terran Expeditionary Force to all Quillari survivors. We have entered your system. We are here to help. Please transmit your locations so we can extract you. Repeat, help has arrived. The bunker erupted. People were crying, laughing, holding each other. Talana felt tears on her own face. She did not wipe them away. Respond, she told Soren. Tell them where we are. Already done, Ambassador. They are sending dropships. How long? 30 minutes. They are punching through the crash atmospheric forces now. 30 minutes. After 23 days of waiting, 30 minutes seemed like nothing. Talana gathered the survivors and moved them to the main chamber. If they were going to die, let it be reaching for rescue, not cowering in the dark. The crash must have detected the human ships. The scratching at the walls became frantic, desperate. They were trying to reach the prey before it escaped. 20-5 minutes. The eastern tunnel collapsed completely. 20 minutes. The crash broke through into a side passage. Talana could hear their screams, high and horrible. 15 minutes. The lights died. They stood in emergency lighting, red and dim. 10 minutes. The crash were in the western tunnel. So close now. Talana could smell them, a rotting stench of decay and hunger. 5 minutes. The main door began to buckle. Claws punched through metal. Children screamed. Adults pulled them back, forming a wall with their own bodies. Then there was a sound like thunder. The entire bunker shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The scratching stopped. Silence. Then a new sound. Drilling. Something was cutting through the ceiling of the bunker. Fast, efficient. A circle of molten metal appeared above them. Then the circle fell, crashing to the floor. Light poured through the hole. Bright, harsh light. And figures descended on cables, moving fast. Talana's first thought was that these creatures looked wrong. They were the right general shape, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But their movements were too fast, too aggressive. They carried weapons that looked brutal and primitive. And their faces predator eyes. Forward-facing, binocular, designed for tracking prey. Teeth that showed when they spoke. Muscles that moved under their skin like coiled springs. One of them landed near Talana. It was female, she thought, though it was hard to tell in the armor. The human pulled off her helmet. Ambassador Talana? The human asked. Yes, Talana whispered. Commander Sarah Chun, Terran Marines. We are here to get you out. Chun's eyes swept the crowd. How many? Almost 200,000, Soren said. Then, we will make multiple trips. Get the children first. Sick and wounded second. Everyone else after. Move fast. The Kresh are regrouping. Chun barked orders. More humans dropped through the hole. They moved with frightening efficiency, organizing survivors into groups. One huge human, bigger than any Quillari, was carrying 3 children under one massive arm while his other hand held a weapon. "Do not be afraid," the huge human said gently. His voice did not match his appearance. "We will get you somewhere safe." A child asked, "Are you monsters?" The human laughed. It was a warm sound. "Yeah, kid. But we are your monsters. Now hold tight." Talana was in the first group extracted. She rose through the hole on a cable, pulled by human hands that were strong but careful. She emerged onto the surface of her world and gasped. The sky was full of ships. Human ships. They were nothing like the elegant vessels of the Galactic Council. These were ugly, brutal things, all angles and armor. They bristled with weapons. And between them and the bunker, humans in armor were fighting the Kresh. It was not like anything Talana had imagined. The humans fought with a ferocity that terrified her. They did not run or hide. They advanced, pushing forward, their weapons making horrible sounds. Thunder and lightning. The Kresh were retreating. The Kresh, who had never retreated before, were falling back before these armored demons. "This way, Ambassador," Chun said, guiding her toward his ship. Inside the dropship, Talana found herself surrounded by humans. They were covered in dirt and something dark Kresh blood, she realized. They smelled of sweat and metal, but they were gentle with the Quillari, helping them into seats, giving them water. "You came," Talana said to Chun. "You actually came." Chun checked her weapon, not looking at Talana. "We said we would, but why? We are nothing to you. You do not know us. We cannot pay you. Why would you risk your lives?" Chun finally looked at her. Her eyes were hard, but kind. Talana suddenly understood that this human had seen terrible things and done terrible things, but had chosen to remain kind anyway. "Because someone had to," Chun said simply. "Because we heard you crying for help and we could not ignore it. What kind of beings are you?" Talana whispered. Chun smiled. It was not a happy smile. "We are what happens when a species evolves on a death world, Ambassador. We are survivors. We are fighters. And sometimes, when we are lucky, we are heroes." The dropship lifted off. Through the windows, Talana watched her world fall away. She could see the Kresh swarms, vast and dark. And she could see the human fleet, smaller in number but deadly in purpose, positioning itself between the monsters and their prey, above the planet. In the command ship, Chun transmitted to the fleet. "All units. This is Commander Chun. We have survivors. Now we save their world. Weapons free. Show the Kresh what happens when they threaten the innocent." And the monsters of Earth went to war. The human fleet hung in orbit like angry gods waiting to pass judgment. Talana watched from the observation deck of the flagship. Beside her, other Quillari survivors pressed against the windows, seeing their world from space for what might be the last time. The planet was dark where cities used to shine. Kresh bioships covered the surface like a disease. "Firing solution locked," someone said behind them. Talana turned. The bridge was chaos, but organized chaos. Humans moved efficiently, calling out numbers and coordinates. At the center, Commander Chun stood with her arms crossed, watching displays that showed enemy positions. "Target the atmospheric processors first," Chun ordered. "Cut off their air supply. Then hit the bioships. I want concentrated fire." "Commander, that will cause significant planetary damage," a younger officer said. "Less damage than letting them eat everything," Chun replied. "Fire when ready." The ship shuddered. Through the windows, Talana saw streaks of light falling toward the planet. Not elegant energy beams like in council ships. These were physical objects, massive and brutal. Kinetic missiles, nuclear warheads, weapons from a more primitive time. The explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. Talana felt sick watching them, but she also felt satisfaction. The crash had killed her children. They deserved this. Ambassador Talana, Chan said, approaching. We are deploying ground forces. Would you like to observe from the command center? It might be difficult to watch. I have watched my world die, Talana said quietly. I can watch you save what remains. Chun nodded. She respected that. Talana could tell. The ground assault began at dawn. Human dropships descended through fire and fury. The crash swarmed up to meet them. Millions of claws and teeth. Talana expected the ships to pull back. Instead, they accelerated. The dropships crashed through the crash formations, weapons blazing. They landed hard, hatches opening before they even touched ground. Marines poured out, already firing. Talana watched on the displays. The humans fought like nothing she had ever imagined. They did not form neat lines or follow elegant tactics. They were aggressive, brutal, efficient. They used the rubble of Quillari cities as cover, set up ambushes and burned out buildings, lured the crash into traps. One Marine team was surrounded by hundreds of crash. Talana was certain they would die. Instead, they called in fire support. A human ship overhead launched missiles directly onto their position. The Marines survived by hiding in reinforced bunkers. The crash died by the thousands. That is insane, Soren whispered beside her. They almost killed themselves. A Marine nearby, standing guard, heard him. She grinned, showing teeth. That is Tuesday for us. You should see what we do when things get serious. Serious? This was not serious to them? Talana did not know whether to be horrified or grateful. Days passed. The humans pushed forward steadily. They took losses. Talana saw body bags loaded onto ships, saw wounded Marines being carried back. Some were missing limbs. Some would not survive. But they kept fighting. On the third day, Talana watched a medical bay. A human doctor worked on a wounded Marine, his hands covered in blood. The Marine was young, barely an adult by Quillari standards. She had lost her arm. Am I going home, Doc? The Marine asked. Not yet, the doctor said. We are fitting you with a prosthetic. You will be back in action in a week. Good, the Marine said. She smiled, even in pain. The crash killed a bunch of those blue bird people. Someone has to make them pay. Talana realized the Marine was talking about her people. Quillari had feathers instead of hair. To this human, they were blue bird people. And this young soldier, who had lost her arm fighting for strangers, wanted revenge on their behalf. Why do you fight so hard for us? Talana asked the doctor. He looked up, surprised to see her. Because no one else can, he said simply. Because we know what it is like to be helpless. Earth history is full of genocides and massacres. We know what happens when monsters are allowed to win. He returned to his work. So we do not let them win anymore. Talana began studying human history. What she found horrified her. Humans had almost destroyed themselves dozens of times. World wars, nuclear weapons, plagues both natural and manufactured. Their planet had ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts. And somehow they survived all of it. They evolved alongside creatures that hunted them. Giant predators with teeth like knives. Tiny creatures with venom that could kill in minutes. The planet itself tried to kill them with earthquakes, and hurricanes and droughts, and they became the most dangerous thing on their world. They hunted the hunters. They dominated an entire planet through intelligence and cooperation and sheer stubborn refusal to die. We are Deathworld children, Chun explained one evening. Talana had joined her for what humans called dinner. The food was strange, but not unpleasant. Earth is classified as a Class 10 Deathworld. Most species would not survive a day there. We evolved there. It made us hard. But you are not just hard, Talana said. I see your soldiers laugh while covered in blood. Then I see them cry when they cannot save someone. You are complicated. Chun nodded. Yes, we are. We can be monsters. We have been monsters many times in our history. We have committed terrible crimes against each other and our planet. She paused. But we can also choose to be better. That is what makes us human, not the violence. The choice. On the 8th day, the Kresh began to retreat. It was unprecedented. The Kresh never retreated. They consumed or they died trying. But faced with human resistance, they pulled back to regroup. They are learning, Chum said, studying the tactical displays. They are adapting. That is dangerous. Can you still win? Talana asked. Yes, Chum said without hesitation. But the price is going higher. She pointed at the display. See this? Massive energy signature. Something big is coming. The Kresh Queen had arrived. Her ship emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. It was not a ship. It was a moon. Organic, pulsing, alive. Millions of Kresh swarmed around it like insects. The human fleet immediately moved to intercept. But Talana could see the numbers. The Queen's forces outnumbered the humans 10-1. What will you do? She asked Chun. Chun's face was grim. What we always do. Whatever it takes. She turned to her crew. Prepare nuclear option. Authorization Chun Alpha 7. Target the Queen. Commander, those are forbidden weapons, an officer said carefully. Treaties prohibit. Not my treaties, Chun interrupted. And not when a species is facing extinction. Prepare the weapons. Talana understood. The humans had weapons so terrible they had banned themselves from using them. And they were going to use them anyway. To save the Quillari, you would break your own laws for us? She asked quietly. We would do worse than that, Chun replied. We are monsters, Ambassador. We just try very hard to be the right kind of monsters. The fleet armed its most terrible weapons. The Queen's ship moved toward the planet. And Talana realized that the real battle had not even begun. She stood at the window and watched the monsters of Earth prepare to face a monster from the stars. She did not know who would win. But she knew one thing. Humans did not know how to give up Dodd, and that might be enough. The Kresh Queen's ship blotted out the sun. Talana stood on the bridge of the human flagship and stared at the displays in horror. The bioship was larger than any moon, covered in organic armor and weapons. Millions of Kresh poured from it like blood from a wound. The human fleet looked like toys in comparison. All ships, battle formation Delta, Chun ordered. Her voice was calm, but Talana could see tension in her shoulders. Concentrate fire on the escort ships first. We need to isolate the Queen. Commander, we are receiving a transmission, the communication officer said. From the Queen herself. Chun's eyes narrowed. Put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was not a voice. It was many voices, thousands speaking as one. The Kresh were a hive mind. Every creature was an extension of the Queen's will. Humans, the Queen said. The word was filled with curiosity. Strange humans. We have consumed 1,000 species. None fought like you. None died like you. We are still alive, Chun said coldly. That makes your count premature. The Queen laughed. It sounded like bones breaking. We know what you are. We have tasted your fallen soldiers. We have absorbed their memories. You are predators. Apex predators. Like us. We are nothing like you, Chun said. Are you not? You evolved through violence. You dominated your world through blood and conquest. You are killers by nature. We are the same, you and we. Chun's jaw tightened. If we were the same, we would have let the Quillari die. Ah, the queen said. But you did not come here for them. You came here for the hunt, for the glory of battle, for the satisfaction of destroying a worthy enemy. We see you, humans. We understand you. Join us. Share the feast. Together, we could rule the galaxy. Talana felt her heart freeze. Would the humans accept? They were predators. They were violent. Maybe the queen was right. Maybe humans and Kresh were the same. Your offer is declined, Chun said flatly. Why? The queen sounded genuinely confused. We offer you partnership. We offer you conquest. What more could a predator species want? You do not understand us at all, Chun said. She leaned forward. Yes, we are predators. Yes, we evolved through violence. Yes, we are killers. But we are not like you. We do not hunt for pleasure. We protect for purpose. You lie to yourselves, the queen hissed. You came here to kill. We see it in you. The joy of battle. The satisfaction of victory. You are creatures of war. Chum stood silent for a moment. Then she spoke, and her voice carried to every human ship in the fleet. Attention all personnel. I want you to remember why we are here. We did not come to this system for glory. We did not come for conquest. We came because someone cried for help and no one else answered. We came because the Quillari are innocent. We came because someone had to stand between the darkness and the light. She turned back to the queen's transmission. You are right about one thing. We are killers. We are monsters. But we choose what kind of monsters we are. And we choose to be monsters who protect, not monsters who devour. Then you choose death, the queen said. The transmission ended. The queen's ship accelerated toward the planet. All ships, weapons free, Chun commanded. Target everything we have at that ship. If we are going down, we are taking her with us. The battle that followed was unlike anything Talana had ever witnessed. The human fleet threw everything they had at the queen. Nuclear missiles, kinetic rounds, energy weapons. They held nothing back, but the queen's ship was too large, too strong. It shrugged off attacks that should have destroyed it. Escort ships swarmed the human vessels. 3 frigates exploded. A cruiser was ripped apart by Kresh bioweapons. We need to hit her from inside, Chum said, studying the displays. That armor is too thick. But if we can get into her ship, plant charges at critical points. That is a suicide mission, one of her officers said. Yes, Chun agreed. Volunteers only. I will lead it myself. Commander, you cannot, the officer began. I can and I will, Chun interrupted. She looked at Talana. Ambassador, I need to ask you something. Do you want revenge? Or do you want justice? Talana blinked. What is the difference? Revenge is killing the queen because she hurt you. Justice is killing the queen so she cannot hurt anyone else. Chun's eyes were hard. One is personal. One is necessary. I need to know which one I am doing. Talana thought of her children, dead in the first days of the invasion. She thought of her world, burned and broken. She thought of 7 billion Quillari, erased from existence. Justice, she said finally. This is justice. Chun nodded. Good. Then I can die knowing it matters. Can I come? Talana asked suddenly. I cannot fight, but I can help. I can know, Chun said gently but firmly. Your people need you alive. They need to rebuild. They need hope. Let us be the monsters. You be the light. Chun gathered her volunteers. 50 Marines. All knew they were not coming back. They checked their weapons, said goodbye to friends, and prepared to die. A young Marine, barely 20 years old, approached Chun. "Commander, permission to speak?" "Granted, Torres. Why are we doing this?" "I mean, really. These aliens, they are not like us. They are not our responsibility." Chun looked at him for a long moment. "When you were a kid, did anyone ever stand up for you? When you were being bullied or hurt?" Torres nodded slowly. "My older sister. She was small, but she never backed down." "This is the same thing," Chun said. "We are everyone's older sister now. We stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. Not because we want to, because we must." Torres straightened. "Then let us go be someone's hero, Commander." The assault team loaded into a stealth ship. Talana watched them go, these warriors who chose to die for strangers. She felt tears on her face. The stealth ship navigated through the chaos of battle, slipping between Kresh escorts, dodging bioweapons. It reached the Queen's ship and latched on like a parasite. The Marines burned through the hull and entered. Talana watched their helmet cameras on the bridge displays. Inside the Queen's ship was a nightmare. Organic walls pulsed with alien life. Kresh warriors waited in ambush. The Marines fought through, losing people at every intersection. 20 Marines made it to the first objective. 12 to the second. 8 to the third. Private Torres reached the Queen's chamber with only Commander Chun. They were covered in wounds. Exhausted, nearly out of ammunition, the Queen sat in her chamber. A massive creature of flesh and chitin and malice. She looked at them with 1,000 eyes. "Brave little monsters," she said. "You have come so far, but you have failed. You cannot kill me. I am eternal." "Nothing is eternal," Chun said. She activated the charges her team had planted. "And everything dies." Torres looked at Chun. "It has been an honor, Commander." "The honor was mine, soldier," Chun replied. "For Earth, for the Quillari, for everyone who cannot fight back." Torres smiled. "Someone has to?" The charges detonated. The Queen's chamber erupted in nuclear fire. The explosion tore through the bioship, reaching its core. The massive vessel shuddered, screamed with 1,000 voices, and began to break apart. On the flagship, Talana watched the Queen's ship die. She watched the explosion that killed Chun and Torres and all the brave humans who went with them. She fell to her knees and wept, but the fleet did not stop. Even with their commander gone, the humans kept fighting. They drove the now leaderless Kresh back, scattered them, destroyed them dot by dawn. The battle was over. The Kresh were broken. The Queen was dead. Quillara was free, and 51 humans would never see their home again. Talana went to the communication station. She broadcast to the remaining human ships. "This is Ambassador Talana. I do not have the words to thank you. You came when no one else would. You fought when no one else could. You gave your lives for people you never knew." Her voice broke. "You are the bravest beings I have ever known. You are heroes. All of you." In the silence that followed, Talana heard something. It started on one ship, then spread to all of them. The humans were not cheering. They were not celebrating their victory. They were singing. A slow, mournful song. For their fallen. For Chun and Torres and all the others. Even in victory, they honored their dead. And Talana finally understood what made humans special. They were monsters who mourned. They were killers who grieved. They were warriors who wept. They were not monsters at all. They were human. And that made all the difference. 6 months later, Talana stood in a rebuilt city and watched human engineers work. The city was not what it had been. The crystal towers were gone. replaced by simpler structures. But it was alive. Quilari children played in the streets. Markets were opening. Gardens were being planted. 3 cities were finished. 7 more were under construction that the humans had stayed to help rebuild. Not just their military, but civilians too. Engineers, doctors, teachers, farmers. They taught the Quilari how to defend themselves, how to build stronger structures, how to grow food in damaged soil. Ambassador Talana, a young human engineer, called. She was showing a group of Quilari how to repair a water purification system. Could you tell the council that we need more filtration units? The river is still contaminated. I will send the request today, Talana promised. She walked through the city, greeting survivors. They called her the Ambassador of Hope. She did not feel hopeful. She felt tired. But she continued working because that was what Chun would have wanted. The Galactic Council had finally arrived 3 weeks after the battle. They came with observers and aid packages and carefully worded apologies. Speaker Vornis personally expressed regret that they had not been able to help sooner. Talana had been polite. Barely dot now. The council wanted to meet about the human situation. They were afraid. A military species had appeared from unknown space, defeated an enemy the council could not stop, and was now teaching the Quilari how to fight. The council saw humans as a threat. They had called an emergency session. They wanted Talana to testify. She agreed, though not for the reasons they thought. The day before she was scheduled to leave, Talana visited the memorial. The humans had built it on a hill overlooking the new city. 51 names were carved into black stone. Commander Sarah Chun was at the top. Private Michael Torres was near the bottom. A human soldier stood guard at the memorial. He saluted when he saw Talana. "Ambassador," he said respectfully. "You do not need to guard this," Talana said. "No one would dare disturb it." "We do not guard it to keep people away," the soldier said. "We guard it to honor them, so they are never alone." Talana touched Chun's name on the stone. "She saved us." "She saved everyone," the soldier agreed. "That is what she did. That is what we try to do." The next day, Talana traveled to the council station. It was a massive structure, built by 47 species working together. Beautiful and elegant. Nothing like the brutal human ships. Yet those elegant ships had done nothing while her people died. The council chamber was full. Representatives from all member species sat in their designated areas. At the center, Speaker Vornis called the session to order. "We are here to discuss the humans," Vornis said. "They appeared without warning. They possess military technology beyond anything we have seen. They are aggressive, violent, and dangerous. We must decide how to respond to this threat." Several council members spoke. They talked about quarantine, about restrictions, about containing the humans before they became a danger to galactic peace. Talana listened to them debate for 3 hours. They spoke about humans as if they were animals to be caged. They never mentioned the Quilari. They never mentioned the rescue. They only talked about their fear. Finally, Vornis recognized her. "Ambassador Talana, you have lived with the humans for 6 months. You have seen their violence firsthand. Do you believe they are a threat to the council?" Talana stood. She had prepared this speech carefully. She had thought about every word. "You call them monsters," she began. "You fear their weapons and their aggression. You are right to see these things. Humans are dangerous. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They became predators because they had to. They learned violence because the universe taught them." She paused and looked around the chamber. Every eye was on her. "But you are blind to what matters most. Humans are the only species I've met who can be monsters and choose not to be. They evolved in hell and came out believing in heaven. They are born killers who write poetry about peace. They are survivors who sacrifice themselves for strangers. A council member interrupted. They destroyed an entire crash fleet. They used forbidden weapons. How is that not monstrous? They destroyed a fleet that was eating my people alive, Talana said sharply. They used those weapons to save 200,000 innocents. When I asked Commander Chun why they fought so hard for us, she said, because someone has to. Not for glory, not for territory, not for payment. Because someone has to stand between the darkness and the light. But they enjoy fighting, another member said. We have seen the reports. They laugh in battle. They celebrate victories. They are warriors by nature. Yes, Talana agreed. They are warriors. But do you know what else I saw? I saw them weep for their enemies. I saw a Marine lose her arm and asked to go back to fight for strangers. I saw 51 humans voluntarily walk into death to save people they had never met. I saw Commander Chun give up her life to stop a monster, not for revenge, but for justice. She stepped forward, looking directly at Vornis. You want to know if humans are dangerous? Yes, they are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. They are predators who evolved through violence and survived through determination. But you are asking the wrong question. The question is not whether they are dangerous. The question is, what kind of dangerous are they? Explain, Vornis said. The Kresh were dangerous, Talana said. They killed because they could. They consumed because they were hungry. They destroyed because it was their nature. They could not choose to be better. The humans are dangerous, but they choose every day to be heroes instead of villains. They have the capacity for great evil, and they consciously reject it. That is what makes them special. But what if they change their minds? A council member asked. What if they decide to conquer instead of protect? Talana thought about this carefully. Then we would face a terrible enemy. But I have seen their culture. I have studied their history. They have done terrible things to each other. Yes. Wars and genocides and cruelty. But they remember. They teach their children about their mistakes. They build memorials to remind themselves of the cost of violence. They try, every generation, to be better than the one before. She took a breath. You want to quarantine them? Lock away the only species in the galaxy that will fight for strangers? Then pray that the next time a monster comes, you do not need them. Because I promise you, another monster will come. The universe is full of them. And when that happens, you will wish you had not made enemies of the only people who would have helped you. The chamber fell silent. Talana could see council members looking at each other, uncertain. Vornis spoke carefully. What are you proposing, Ambassador? Invite them to join the council, Talana said. Make them partners, not threats. Give them a place in galactic society. In return, ask them to be what they already want to be. Protectors, defenders, the warriors who stand guard so the rest of us can sleep safely. And if they refuse? They will not, Talana said with confidence. Do you know what Commander Chun said before she died? For everyone who cannot fight back. That is who humans are. They are the older sibling who stands up to the bully. They are the neighbor who runs into the burning building. They are the soldier who takes the bullet meant for someone else. She looked around the chamber one final time. The monsters of Earth responded to our cry for help, and they did not devour us. They bled for us. They died for us. They taught us that strength without compassion is tyranny, but compassion without strength is a dream that dies in the dark. So I ask you, what kind of galaxy do you want to live in? One where the strong protect the weak, or one where the weak have no protection at all? The vote took 2 days. In the end, the council decided. Humanity was offered membership, not as conquered subjects, not as quarantined threats. As equal partners, the humans accepted. Talana returned to Quilara and went directly to the memorial. She touched Chen's name again. "We did it," she whispered. "The council accepted your people. You are heroes now, officially. The whole galaxy knows what you did for us." The guard on duty, a different soldier, heard her. "Ma'am, Commander Chun did not do it to be famous. She did it because it was right." "I know," Talana said. "That is why she was a hero." Years passed. The Quillari rebuilt their world. UN military bases were established across council space, always with local permission, always respecting local laws. When the Kresh returned 5 years later, they found not helpless prey, but a prepared galaxy. The humans met them at the border and drove them back. New threats emerged. Pirates, slavers, warlords, and each time, human ships appeared to help. Sometimes they won easily. Sometimes they paid terrible prices. But they always came. The galaxy learned what the Quillari already knew. Humans were monsters. But they were everyone's monsters. And in a dangerous universe that made them heroes. On Earth, in a military academy, a young recruit stood before a memorial wall. It listed every human who had died defending alien species. The list was long and growing longer. An instructor approached. "Cadet, do you understand what this wall represents?" "Yes, sir," the recruit said. "It represents sacrifice." "More than that," the instructor said. "It represents a choice. Every person on this wall could have stayed home, could have lived safe, comfortable lives.